guys, welcome back to my channel. As some of you might know, the Sephora sale is just around the corner, and in anticipation of the sale, I'm going to be doing a two-part video with you guys. Today, I will be sharing with you guys my recommendations for the Sephora sale. These are things that I have bought from Sephora over, some of these are new, some of these I've had for a while. But basically over the last couple of years that I absolutely love and stand by. They're my very favorite things that I've purchased from Sephora. I think I have all the categories covered, from primers to brows, bronzers, lips, all of that good stuff. And then in part two, I'm going to share with you guys the things that I actually have in my shopping cart right now. Now, I don't know that I will purchase all of the things in my cart right now. I'm hoping to whittle it down a little bit because that sticker price is much bigger than what I would like to spend, even considering the discount that you get during the sale. But I'm hoping that you guys can maybe help me out with that. So that is what we will be doing. For those of you high-end makeup lovers or wondering what I think is actually worth the high-end price, as a generally speaking drugstore girl, I feel like it takes a little bit more for me to really get behind something that costs a lot more, although that has changed a little bit over the years. I still consider myself a drugstore girl at heart, but there is some really good stuff that I would like to share with you guys. So that was a way longer intro than it needed to be, but hopefully you guys are excited about this. Before we get into all the makeup, I want to give a special welcome to any of you that are new here. Thank you for joining me today. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you do, please consider subscribing before you leave and make sure the notifications are turned on. And with that said, let's just get right to it. All right, so let's start with the primer. My favorite primer from Sephora. And by the way, I've only ever tried like 3 primers from Sephora in total, so don't consider me an expert by any means, but I do recommend the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Primer. This is one of my very favorite primers of all time. It is extremely hydrating if you have dry skin. I think this is such a good primer. It just is such a good prep for my foundation. Now, I don't use a primer every day. I would say I use a primer about 50% of the time, but if I am wanting my makeup to look its best, last its longest, I like to start with a good hydrating primer, and this is a good hydrating one that I feel like leaves a finish and kind of subtle tackiness to your skin that really makes your foundation just go on seamlessly, regardless of what foundation you're using. So I do recommend this. For foundation, this one was a little bit tricky. I have a couple of foundations that I really love from Sephora, but probably my favorite has to be the Kosas Revealer foundation. This is just a good one that works for me really well. The shade match is one of the best shade matches I have found at Sephora. I have the shade Olive 210, which is a really good shade match for me when I'm a little bit more tan. I also have the shade Light Neutral Olive 160, which is a little bit better shade match for me in the dead of winter, and kind of in between, I'll just mix these two together. It's nice and hydrating. It leans dewy, but I wouldn't necessarily call it like the most dewy foundation. It's a really good formula for me. It gives me good medium coverage. It's not drying, but it also doesn't slip and slide around on my face. It wears really well, and the undertone is so good for me. It's really hard for me to find a good undertone for my kind of olivey, slightly warm, but not too peach skin tone. I just have kind of a strange undertone for someone with more fair skin. And the thing I love about the Kosas foundations is they don't just cover shades from light to dark, but they also have a lot of undertones, which is really important. Okay, concealer. This one was tough as well. I almost picked the Kosas concealer. I really love that concealer. In fact, I'm almost out of mine and thinking I should probably repurchase it. But if I could only pick one concealer, I'd have to go with the Dior Forever Skin Concealer. You guys, this concealer has the best coverage of any concealer that I have in my collection, and it wears really well also. Now, it can be a little bit cakey if you use too much. You have to be a little bit careful with how you use this because it's very rich, it's very thick, very creamy. What I love this stuff for most especially is if I have spots that are very difficult to cover, as in my other concealers will only cover them like 80%, this thing can completely cover them up. And I'm talking about maybe healing breakouts or hyperpigmentation marks like my little friend right here. This covers this spot better than any other concealer in my entire collection. I also have a little spot under my nose right here that it's kind of a healing spot that's gonna be red for a couple of months. Nothing else will cover it. Like everything else, just that redness and kind of that hint of a shadow peeks through any other concealer that I have. This is the only one that completely masks it. That said, it's always tough to keep spots under your nose covered if you have perpetually runny noses like I do. But I love this concealer. It is so good. Anytime I really need coverage, this is my #1 go-to, and I don't think I could ever live without this. Okay, let's go to brows next. So this, I keep saying this was a tricky one. I should stop saying that. It's gonna get very annoying. But I had to just pick one. There are other things that I really love. But the brow product I had to pick was the Precisely My Brow. This is an old classic that's been around for many years. And I've really come around on this brow pencil being superior to other brow pencils. You pay a lot more for it, that is for sure. I have a lot of drugstore ones that I do really like, but none of them are as good as this one. This one has the perfect consistency. It's very, very stiff, very precise, but it's not so stiff that it doesn't deposit color into your brows, which I find some other pencils that I have that are more on the stiff side, which I like. Sometimes I have to really work to get the color out of them. Not the case with this. It deposits the perfect amount of color without depositing too much. You can be precise with it. It's very quick, easy to fill in. The undertone, number 3, that's the shade that I use, is perfect. It's ashy without being too gray, but it's also not too light. It's fantastic, you guys. I love this brow pencil, and I have to say I haven't been in as much of a brow pencil phase lately, but I do go back to this at least once or twice a week, and it's such a quick, easy fill-in for the brows. It does a really good job. And again, well, I think the price difference between, like, say a $5 good drugstore brow pencil and the $24, it might even be more than that now, Benefit brow pencil, the difference in quality I don't think is as big as the difference in price, but it is a better brow pencil. And if brows are your thing, like if you are real, like you want your brows to be perfection, you don't mind spending a little bit more, I don't think you can beat this. Let's go through some cheek products. The bronzer. So this one actually was very easy because I have so fallen in love with this bronzer, despite the fact that I have a lot of bronzers from Sephora that I really love. I am a bronzer fiend. I love bronzer. It's one of my favorite products, but the one I have to recommend to you guys is the Charlotte Tilbury Sun-Kissed Cream Bronzer. This is the best cream bronzer, and it's unlike other cream bronzers within my collection. The formula is just a little bit different. It's a little bit more of like a satin finish. It's not quite as rich and emollient, but I love that because it doesn't lift off coverage from my cheeks. And I have a lot of stuff to cover on my cheeks. I have a lot of hyperpigmentation, some sunspots. And as much as I love cream bronzers because my skin is dry and I love the subtle dew and the moisture that they give to my cheeks and how natural they look, some of them can be so emollient that when I apply them, they slightly lift off some of that coverage that I've so carefully applied underneath. But this one actually gives me additional coverage in addition to the color that it lays down. I don't know if that makes sense. Maybe that's kind of in my head, but I always feel like my cheeks look even more flawless after applying this bronzer. It is on the pricey side. All Charlotte Tilbury products are, but you do get a ton of product in this. So despite its high price tag, I actually think it's not as expensive as even some of my other cream bronzers that I love. Considering its value and how much product you get, it is fantastic. It's a beautiful shade. Fair is perfect for my light skin tone. I don't think her shade range is great. I want to say she only has 3 or 4 shades available, but hopefully their other shades are really nice as well for other skin tones. This one is absolutely lovely. Love the formula, love its longevity, love the packaging. Just such a fantastic bronzer. So blushes, I have 2 to mention. I tried to limit myself to like 1 thing per category, but eyeshadow palettes and blushes, I have more than 1. The first one I wanted to share is the Hourglass Mini Blush in the shade Mood Exposure. This is the blush that I am wearing on my cheeks today. It's been a long time favorite of mine. Now the thing I have to say about these mini blushes, I personally like the mini blushes because Hourglass blushes are so incredibly expensive. I love them, but they are so expensive, and as someone that has a massive blush collection, I don't think I would ever hit pan on any single one of my blushes because I like to switch things up a lot and I have so much. So for me, I don't mind the smaller size of these, but that said, you guys, these are still kind of pricey. They're $28 a piece, and you get, let me just, hold on, let me pull up my laptop real quick. I've got to pull this up really quick. So you only get 0.04 ounces or 1.3 grams of product inside here. Now that is very, very little. It doesn't bother me because I still don't think I'll ever use this whole thing. But for $28, I mean, that's a very expensive blush. Not a great value, but I still recommend them. I recommend this blush. I think their formula is amazing. I have some other blushes from them in their Ghost palette that I have. I love those as well. They're super pricey, but I do think they're really nice. And if you're looking for a good gift or just want to add like a good color to your collection, this is such a great color. If you have medium light to fair skin, I think you'll absolutely love this color. It's beautiful. It's kind of a cooler nude. Comes in really great packaging, and if you can get over the value, it is one that I would recommend. As a competitor to that one though, I had to mention the Pat McGrath blushes. Now I have this little palette right here. I'm just recommending her blushes in general. Both of these blushes in this palette are permanent shades, so you can pick these up individually. We have Divine Rose and Desert Orchid. I love these blushes so much. They're some of my favorites in my entire collection. Now these are also quite pricey. They're $39, but you get so much more product in a full size of these blushes. Actually, I think these ones might be a tiny bit smaller. But a full size Pat McGrath blush has 0.34 ounces or 9.7 grams. So pay $10 more and you get 9.7 grams versus the 1.3 grams in the Hourglass. I feel like I've already sold myself on these over these just because I can't. I mean, that value difference is just astronomical. But I wanted to mention them both. I do like them both. They're all beautiful. I love both of these shades, Desert Orchid and Divine Rose. I think they're lovely depending on whether you like something more peach or something kind of a cooler pink. The formulas are just really nice. And actually these formulas kind of remind me of each other. They both have a very, and actually I don't think that's true. I actually think that this one in the middle, Desert Orchid, has a little bit more sheen, but even this one I wouldn't really call a matte blush. Like it has a little something to it more than just like a mattifying blush would give you. It's just a really beautiful formula. I know some have more shimmers than others depending on which shade you go with, but I would recommend either of those. Okay, highlighter. This one might be a surprise to you guys because I think my answer would have been different a while ago, but this is a highlighter that has really grown on me over the last year or so, and I think it's very underrated. I don't hear a lot of people talking about this. It's the Laura Mercier Matte Radiance Baked Powder in Highlight 01. This is the highlighter that I think, regardless of whether you like a natural highlighter or an intense highlighter, I think you would like this because I think it's a very multi-purpose kind of highlighter depending on how much you apply. If I'm looking for something more intense, which you guys know I love a really intense highlighter, I'll apply this in 2 layers like I did today and I'll get a really nice, intense shine, but this does not have the type of reflect that a lot of highlighters do. It's much more of like a powder finish. It's very refined, so it's not going to emphasize texture as much as other intense highlighters will. And again, if you want something more subtle, if you just apply 1 layer of it, it is so soft and natural looking and subtle. I've compared this to the Pure Nude highlighter from Essence, but the shade of this one I think is a lot better. It's a lot brighter. It's even a little bit more sheer, but I love this. I think this would work for so many people. If you're ever in a Sephora and you see this, I know these have been around forever, give it a little test and see what you think, because I just think this is such an underrated highlighter. It's beautiful. I reach for it all the time. Great formula, great shade, really nice packaging. It is pricey. That's the one thing. It's kind of on the pricey side, but I still think it's worth it. Next up, mascara. This one was also very easy. Probably won't surprise you guys. Tower 28 mascara all day, every day. I love this mascara. In fact, I probably will be, not just probably, I need to add it to my cart so I don't forget because mine's just about gone. I love this mascara. It is easily the best mascara in my entire collection as far as checking every box that I like from a mascara. The only thing I could maybe wish out of this mascara, if my eyes are just slightly watery, it will hold up okay. But if my eyes are severely watery, it's not super water resistant. It's only moderately water resistant depending on the level of my wateriness. I know that seems silly, but I wouldn't call it as water resistant as like my Sky High mascara from Maybelline, but it's very close. And this does the most amazing things for my lashes. I'm wearing it on my lashes today, and I was actually gonna wear false lashes today, but I don't need it when I have this mascara on because I just feel like this gives me such great fullness. It makes it look like I have double the number of eyelashes that I usually have, but they also look nice and thick. They're long, they're full, they're curled. That's one of the best things this does, is it curls your lashes and holds your curl there. I didn't even curl my eyelashes today because I applied it to one side and realized I had forgotten to curl my lashes, which I almost never do, and I don't even notice a difference because this does such a good job at like holding and locking your lashes in really quickly. It dries pretty fast. I love it. I think it's so good. I know people have been raving about this for a long time, and for good reason. If you haven't tried it out yet, this is the one. I mean, there's other mascaras I like from Sephora, but of all of them, this I think is the best one I've ever tried, and that I will go back and repurchase as long as I can, or unless something comes around to the drugstore that compares to this. Nothing has quite yet. I have some that have come close, but nothing's quite beaten this yet. Okay, let's talk about lips, and then last we'll go to eyeshadow palette. So I have 2 things for the lips. I actually don't have a lipstick to recommend because I just have not been, I mean, I guess you could say Charlotte Tilbury, just because if you're a lipstick person, Charlotte Tilbury lipstick is just So fun and pretty, but honestly, you guys, I just have not been using lipstick very much lately. Have been using lip liners, as you guys might know. And I decided to mention the Charlotte Tilbury lip liners. I've kind of been, I don't want to say I've ever been off of these liners. There's others that I have tried that I have been enjoying as well that are maybe a little bit cheaper than these or retractable. These are the ones you have to sharpen. But the one thing I will say about the Charlotte Tilbury, above something like the Buxom lip liners or the Natasha Denona lip liner, which I love both of those, is the waxiness of these. They're much more waxy and stiff. So if you have vertical lines in your lips, if you're a little bit older, these are the lip liner that I think fare the very best with older lips that have issues with feathering. These do not feather nearly as much as some of my more creamy lip liners, even my long-wearing creamy lip liners. Before they set down, they can really feather into those vertical lines. I have a couple tiny ones over here and then one pretty big one right here that gives me a little bit of trouble. These are by far the best lip liners for those of you that have more aged lips. Today I'm wearing Pillow Talk on my lips. I also love Iconic Nude. Let me just swatch these for you guys so you can see the difference in shade. They're both beautiful nude shades. Pillow Talk is quite a bit more pink, and then Iconic Nude is kind of more like a brown. I wouldn't really call it a brown. It's more of just like a nudie, like grayish pink nude, whereas Pillow Talk is much more pink. I love them both. The formulas are great. Very long wearing, as so many others are, but they don't have the feathering issues that some of my other lip liners can have. And then to go on top of that lip liner is this lip gloss. I am over the moon in love with this lip gloss, you guys. This is the Lawless Forget the Filler Lip Plumping Line Smoothing Lip Gloss. I don't know much about the line smoothing claim of this, but I love this gloss. It's beautiful. It has such a pretty pearly finish. It's not too sticky. I wouldn't call it non-sticky. This kind of feels like something along the lines of maybe the NYX Butter Gloss. It's not quite as non-sticky as like the Tower 28 gloss, which I love that one as well, but this is just one of the prettiest glosses that I've ever had. It has lived in my purse since I bought it a couple of months ago. Had to go back up and dig it out again today because this comes with me everywhere. It's my very favorite lip gloss right now. I have the shade Glazed, which is this beautiful, just like pearly iridescent. It kind of reminds me of Sweet Mouth by Fenty or Opal by Maybelline, but a little bit more intense. Has a little bit stronger of that, like a pearly shine to it that just looks a little bit more, I don't know, intense and pretty. Let me just add a little bit more to my lips. It has a very, very tiny, subtle plumping effect, but it's not as strong as a lot of plumping glosses that I have tried. I absolutely love it. I think it's amazing. I wish you got a little bit more product in these. That's always my complaint with high-end lip glosses. I feel like you never get quite as much product as I wish you would. And maybe I just say that because Fenty knocked it out of the park with how much product they give you inside their glosses. Actually, I should check. Maybe they pulled a sneaky shrinkflation on us and decreased the amount of product in their lip glosses. Nope, still 9 milliliters, still 0.3 ounces, almost double what you get inside this one from Lawless. 3.3 milliliters to 9 milliliters, but if I was just going off the way that they look on the lips, I think I even prefer this one to my Sweet Mouth. And I think that leaves us last with eyeshadow palettes. This was a little bit tricky, but I have two that I want to recommend. One of these because it's brand new. It's been getting a lot of hype. A lot of people seem to love this, and I agree. It is the one I'm wearing today. It's the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude palette. I know these palettes are crazy expensive, and it looks like such a simple color story, but it is absolutely beautiful. There are some stunning shimmer finishes inside here. I love all the mattes as well. You get some really good basic mattes in here, but if shimmers are kind of your thing, if you love a really pretty shimmery eye, you get a variety of finishes in here. Some of them are very subtle, tiny micro sparkle, and some of them are much more thick and rich and metallic and opaque. It's absolutely gorgeous. I tried to do more of a smoky look today with some of these darker browns, and I used this shade on my outer corner and then this one all over the inner lid, and it's stunning. You guys, this is such a pretty eyeshadow palette. It's a very soft looking palette, so it's not going to give you a variety. I know I've said this before, but in case you're new here, it doesn't give you a variety of colors, but rather a variety of finishes. That's kind of what is so special about this palette. If you're more of a simple eye look kind of person, you don't like to venture into anything too dramatic or colorful, if you like softer looks and softer tones and a little bit of sparkle, this is the perfect palette for that. It's absolutely gorgeous. I've been really enjoying it. I don't know, I kind of feel like the last couple palettes I've tried have been giving my #1 favorite from Natasha Denona, a run for its money. This might be a contender. I might have to reevaluate my thinking after I use it a little bit longer. It's very hard for me to rank palettes, as you guys might know, but I do love this one. It's gorgeous, ridiculously expensive, but if you're looking to treat yourself and you're not super bold and adventurous with the colors and shades that you use, I think you might really like this one. But I did also want to mention this palette, which has grown on me even more. This is one that I kind of was skeptical about at first. Let me just tell you what it is. The Anastasia Beverly Hills Rose Metals palette. I was a little bit skeptical when I bought this last year, thinking, I don't know if I'm gonna like this one. Then I used it a little bit more, and the more I've used it, especially for something in the fall that has these kind of rich, warm, deep kind of jewel tones, such a great fall palette. Perfect for this time of year. I mean, it's one that I could use any time of year, but for fall and winter especially, it's gorgeous. I know that she has a couple new ones since this one, but I'm still enjoying this one so much. I just don't feel compelled to try some of her newer ones. And honestly, I think this one has better reviews than both her Cosmic one and then the newer fall one that she did. Very happy with this one. It is a little bit on the older side, but I still recommend it if you like warmer, rusty tones for the fall. This one is absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful if you like a rich smoky eye. This is one of the best rich smoky eye palettes that I think I might own. And that is it, you guys. Those are all of my top recommendations from Sephora. Hopefully that helps you guys out if you're looking to treat yourself or maybe do some holiday shopping in this upcoming sale. I hope this gave you guys some ideas. Stay tuned. I will try either tomorrow or the next day to post my part 2 video of what's in my cart, what I have my eye on during the sale. Hopefully you guys can help me out a little bit. I have way too many eyeshadow palettes in there and I don't need them all, so maybe you can steer me in the right direction. But let that be a final reminder to subscribe to my channel before you leave so you don't miss out on my upcoming videos. But that's gonna do it for today. Thank you all again for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye. I also had a stomach bug over the weekend. Double whammy. Lingering cough and a stomach bug at the same time. That's a really bad combination. That's all I'll say.